about the significance of Ethiopian and African history, culture, heritage, and traditions. Little Ethiopia DC encourages district residents, and particularly people of African descent, to explore and conserve their ancestral heritage and interconnectedness. A longtime community organizer and entrepreneur in DC, Mr. Medin has worked tirelessly for many years to strengthen the relationship between the African American and Ethiopian immigrant business communities. Please welcome Tamrat Medin.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Fitum Araga, and Council Member Bran Nado, and Council Member Brandon Todd. Today is an historic moment in the relationship between Ethiopians and Americans that began in 1908 in Harlem, New York, by the founding of the Abyssinian Baptist Church by Ethiopian merchants and African Americans. Abyssinia is the ancient name of Ethiopia, which is the origin of civilization and home to the first human ancestors found in the bones of Ardi 4.2 million years and Lucy 3.5 million years ago. I lived in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area for over 4 decades, and I'm a person who was inspired by the honorable legacy of Dr. Malaku Bayan and his Washington native wife, Dorothy Hadley. I developed an interest in learning more about the relationship of Ethiopians and the residents of the District of Columbia, where Bayan was the first Ethiopian to receive a doctorate degree from a university in the United States. He also garnered amazing support from the African American community throughout the United States, including of about 17,000 African Americans volunteered to fight side by side with the people of Ethiopia. John C. Robertson, an African American and a member of the Brown Condor Air Force Squadron, fought in Ethiopia. Bayan used the Shau neighborhood as his command center to fight fascism in the Italo-Abyssinian War of 1935-41 by disseminating information about the heinous crimes committed against the people of Ethiopia by the fascists, and also raising money for the wounded. In the Addis Ababa massacre of February 19, 1937, over 30,000 innocent Ethiopians were killed in a span of 3 days because of an attempt to assassinate the fascist general Rodolfo Graziani by a bomb. Unfortunately, Bayan died in 1940 before the expulsion of the enemy forces of Ethiopia on May 5, 1945. This was also the day Emperor Haile Selassie I returned to his throne. Addis Ababa is a sister city of Washington, D.C. since 2013. And a year ago, Deputy Mayor of Addis Ababa, Hakala Uma, renamed Gazebo roundabout to Washington's D.C. Square, and the avenue linking the square to headquarters of the African Union as Mayor Muriel Bowser Street, in honor of the D.C. Mayor visiting Ethiopia to renew the sister city agreement between the two capital cities. Washington, D.C. residents gave warm welcome to Emperor Haile Selassie I in his 6 state visits, meeting Presidents Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon. The city commissioner presented him the key to the city, and Howard University bestowed upon him an honorary doctorate, and the emperor also gave special award to the city, an elephant tusk. Professor Alam Hailu of the African Studies Department of Howard University asked me to join him in a 4-day conference to commemorate the 100 years of U.S.-Ethiopia relations from 1903 to 2003, where a treaty of amity and commerce was signed between the American President Theodore Roosevelt and Ethiopia's Emperor Melik II. I was overly excited to learn more about the relationship of Bayan and Howard University. The treaty, which was signed 7 years after Ethiopian forces under the emperor's leadership stunned the world by defeating an Italian army sent to conquer Ethiopia on March 1, 1896, based on a plot hatched by the Berlin Conference of 1884-85 to scramble Africa. If Ethiopia failed in the hands of Italy, the whole continent, Africa, would be totally colonized, because Ethiopia was the last independent nation in Africa at that time. The emperor's wife, Empress Taitu Butul, led her own battalion at the battle also. The impact of the Pan-African victory of Adwa was huge, because those nations under the yoke of colonialism used the Ethiopian flag of green, yellow, and red as their rallying sign to demand for freedom from the colonialists. Many African countries adopted the colors of the Ethiopian flag after their independence, and 32 nations founded the Organization of African Unity, now African Union, on May 25, 1963. To commemorate the Pan-African victories of Adwa and Meazia 27, Little Ethiopia DC organizes annual wreath-laying ceremonies twice a year in front of the African American Civil War Memorial in Shaw, honoring the African American veterans who fought in the American Civil War and Ethiopians who fought the Ethiopian wars that impacted the black people of the world. We have, I believe we have 2 honorees here, Chef Tete a year ago, and we have also Dr. Frank Smith. He was one of the honoree who placed wreaths in the front of the African American. The Dr. Adams keynote speech, the keynote speakers for the commemoration of conference were the late Congressman Elijah Cummings and the late Congressman Donald Payne, who spoke highly of the role Ethiopia played in fighting for freedom and the great friendship the two nations played. There were also several distinguished speakers from universities, business communities, and social societies who spoke about Ethiopian and inspiring Africans, Caribbean, and African Americans, which brought to my mind to have a symbolic name recognition in Shaw. And I put an online petition for Little Ethiopia in 2004, which is 16 years ago. It was signed by over 1,700 people, and it was presented to the late council member Jim Graham of Ward 1, who was a great friend of the community and made an attempt to try to bring a resolution. Our active engagement in cultural activities, teachings, and celebrations of African-based festivals of Kwanzaa, Black History Month, and special events help us to bridge the gap amongst different communities. And in 2005, June 2005, we had a very successful, as Henok mentioned, a very successful Ethiopian Test of Ethiopia, or the Ethiopian International Food Day, which was coordinated with the mayor's office, the DC Public School. And amongst the other efforts which we are trying to connect people includes the empowerment of African women in collaboration with the organizations and advancement of Meet Ethiopia, Africa, and USA project and others. Thank you so much.
Today's ceremony, the community would like to thank 3 individuals for their commitment to Little Ethiopia with the first ever Little Ethiopia Awards. The first award will be presented to His Excellency Fitsum Arega, Ambassador of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia to the United States of America. As the Ethiopian government's representative since 2018, Ambassador Arega helped coordinate the DC mission to Addis and the renewal of the Sister City Agreement in 2019. Welcome, Ambassador Arega.